Hello, I'm Simon. I'm one of the coaches for the Onslow orienteering team. And I thought, because seeing as a lot of you had trouble out there for the orange course today, I'd actually break down a bit of what went wrong, because it was a very hard course out there, and so I'm just going to use it as a chance to demonstrate some techniques in this video. Educational stuff. So the first thing I've got here is a bunch of orienteering techniques. There's a acronym, goes by CARE or RACE. In this case, I'll use RACE, which is route, attack, point, control, and then exit direction. And so that sort of breaks down your plan for each leg and lets you, have things to think about as you're running and planning each leg, and it means that you're much less likely to make mistakes. So I'm just basically put the map in paint. And so the first thing I'm looking at is that we'll start, a couple of you had problems with start to one. And so the key to this particular leg would just be to recognize that you need to actually stop at the start triangle. And yes, everyone's watching, but you need to stop and think about what you're doing. I saw there's a lot of people racing off in different directions, and I saw some people start running down the track and then stop. So they follow the black line to there. And then once you've got there, you still have to stop and think, but you've now moved away from the place you know, which is the start triangle, and you're now somewhere else on the map. So as it is, if I'm racing, first thing I do, stop at the start triangle. What are the routes I can see? And normally there's a left, a right, and a straight on route. Yeah, left, right, straight on. And I'll quickly look for these, anything that stands out. I'm not an exceptional orienteer, so I don't identify all of them immediately. And often, so things I can see is on the right of your route, you're coming up here. You're doing that. We'll do the left route in red, which is this line. And in theory, there's a straight route somewhere down the middle in blue that looks something like that. Now, upon looking at those, remembering Karori Park's a very green map, which means that you want to stay out of as much of the green as possible, and especially given this huge variety of tracks. In this case, I take the leftmost route, which is in red, and as I'm looking for it, go back to red. So I'm looking for my stepping stones, which I'm progressing to attack points. So first of all, the thing next to the control, attack point, track bend just here. I'm looking at that. There we go. So that's my attack point here. I'll be using it. Lets me just shoot straight off of the track, which is a distinctive feature, and into my control. I did a thing. So other things I'll be looking at is stepping stones. So how am I going to get there? So when am I making decisions? And there's a decision point. First of all, which way am I going from the start? So you're making decisions here, here, and here. So yeah, attack point. See what's the control on. So we've done the route. I'm going from through the circle, so there to there to there to there. Hopefully you can see my mouse. If not, I'm going to be doing things. There we go. There's my route. I'm deliberately not drawing on the track so you can see where the tracks are. And so what that means, so there's my route, and I've looked, these are the places I'm making decisions. I've already made a decision at the start as to which way I'm going. So all I need to think about is I'm taking in this case, the first turn off, I'm taking the second right. And I know I'll go too far if I shoot down and end up down here. So let's avoid doing that. And then once I've done that, so I've gone from here to here, second decision, I'm going to hit the main road, and all I need to do there is cross over and find that track on the other side. Takes me along to here. Whoops, there's another decision point here, track junction. So once I've gone past the road across, take the first track junction on the right, and then I go up, I'm going to hit a track bend and go up into my attack point there. So that's my decision making for 1. And again, I've done root, attack point, control, and 8. I haven't done E, exit direction, which I would consider a mistake. So what the exit direction is about is that if you stand there out of control looking at your map, you're making the control more obvious. So you want to avoid doing that. So in this case, my exit direction actually bleeds into the next control. So 1 to 2. Oops. Again, root, attack point, control, exit direction. How am I leaving to go to 2? So as it happens, now I need to think about, what are my routes for control 2? And I probably started thinking, there's a route somewhere this way, and there's a route somewhere that way. And I'm thinking maybe as I'm coming into one. So probably as I'm running along this bit of a track here, again, my thought process along this bit of the track is just I'm taking my first right. I'm thinking, right, how am I leaving one? And to me, honestly, these two routes are the same. I would just pick one. Left runs the risk, so left is this way, runs the risk of running through like green. So you probably want to avoid doing that. So in that case, I would probably take, right also runs the risk of going through green, depending on what this bush looks like. So I might actually delay until I get to the control and say, right, which way does the bush look nicer? In the end, I'll probably end up going left, and then going, race my next one. Route, I'm taking this left-hand route, so I'm going to do this. Attack point, there. Control is in a depression, so that's what I'm looking for. E, exit direction, we'll just have a look a little further up the map. Okay, exit direction is just straight up this track here. So exit direction is that way. Cool. And so what the key to 1 to 2 is to recognize that you have these two route choices and think about which way you're actually exiting in order to make these route choices. If you were to go on the right route choice, don't go straight, then you've got a bit more to think about. Where am I hitting this upper track here? And then I've got to make a decision, this track junction that I go left. So I'm going to find that track junction and make sure I don't overshoot, and I've got to go left there. Again, it's fine. You hit Control 2, you've made your exit direction. Your plan is to go out and basically up the hill. Again, now this weird thing is I tend to think of things in lefts and rights and ups and downs rather than north and south. North and south also work as long as you're sort of looking at a compass. So my exit direction in this case, I'm always going to go up or north. So from there, track, track, track. How am I making sure I find the right track? Well, if you have a look, so first of all, control, or route, that way. Attack point, when am I leaving it's on the track junction, but when am I leaving this first main track? And the answer is as soon as I get really close to the top of this hill here. So that is a hilltop. That should be fairly obvious. I want to make sure that I see that, so I should see coming up to that. If I reach the ridgeline track, that's not too bad because I can just cut that way. But it's a bit of a wasted time, so I want to take the one before that. Or I might go, I'm taking the second left if I can see this. Either of those work, but the things you want to have, control, it's on a track junction. Exit direction, we'll start having a look at the next control. Exit direction is going to take, I want the rightmost track of the track junction. I just want to start heading up the hill. So 3 or 4, again, route, attack point, control, exit. And if you get that exit direction down pat, it means that you're leaving the control in the right way, which means you're starting to go in the right way, which means you can't make mistakes by getting confused and leaving the wrong way. It sounds laughable and trivial, but you really want to make sure you're doing that. Otherwise, well, some people who made mistakes who shouldn't have out there. So yep, the route. There's only really one route for this. There's technically a left route through around that way somewhere off where I've scrolled. There's the right route, which is also the correct route. So you're always coming to this track junction. You're going that way. I suppose you could call the other thing is this track here, out of bounds. I've just copied the map onto Condes and sort of gone through. So you can't go that way. So you've got left or right, or technically there's a straight route through here, but remembering again, green is awful, don't do it. So I'm taking the right-hand route. Part of the key to orienteering is identifying these left and right route choices and which one's better as fast as possible. So this is control 4 on the hilltop. And so what's my attack point? Get rid of these red lines for a moment. There's this track band, and there's this mess of tracks here. That first mess of tracks is mostly a stepping stone. I just want to make sure I'm leaving along the right way. And so, yeah, stepping stones here, that lot. And so I need to make sure going up, take a right at this junction, otherwise I'm going to end up in the wrong place. And then take a left through this mess of tracks. I just want to keep sticking left until I start going back into the bush and curving around. And so that would be, I end up doing this. And then when do I leave? Once I've come right the way around the corner, I just want to pop up onto the hilltop and find the control. Exit directions back down to the track. But again, this bleeds into the next leg. But if you are having trouble figuring out this stuff, you want to stop at the control, even if it makes it more obvious if you're getting a bit confused about things, and just plan out your next route from there. Or maybe, in this case, it's pop out back to the track, and then plan from the track, so you're not standing next to the control. But make sure that you can tell where you're planning from. So looking at this next leg, 4 to 5, I've got a couple of route choices. Route 1, left. Something like that. Route 2, straight. This one. Route 3, right. Down here. And so because it's all various shades of green, right looks kind of good because you've got the lighter shade of green, which in theory means it's easier vegetation. Left has that indistinct track down. That it's indistinct and it's still through green, so that could be a bit hard to run along. Straight's probably the worst, but the shortest. So in this case, I'd rather go left. In fact, I did go left because I had this leg on my course. So I'm looking for, as I leave for this track, or if I stop to have a think on the track, I'm like, right, I'm going this way. Stop there. Route. What's my attack point? In this case, it's actually, funnily enough, this hilltop here. Control. What's the control on? The hilltop. In this case, the top of the hill is a big obvious thing that you can use as your attack point as well as the control feature, because you can see it from a while away, and you know that you're coming down. The other attack point possibly would be this saddle, and then you're heading up to the hilltop. But yeah, you combine those, and then you should end up finding yourself at the right place. If you've overshoot, you're coming down here. You can end up coming down here if you haven't quite thought that through, especially that control part. So I overshot this control because I was thinking it was on a vegetation boundary rather than a hilltop. My mistake. Whoops, happens. But I managed to see this hilltop here and go, okay, I'm too far down. Let's head back up. And now we get to the leg that most people had trouble with, which is 5 to 6. We'll just zoom out a bit. Okay, paint's doing that. So this leg, again, we'll start by identifying the key routes you've got. There's a left, a right, and a straight. This is in terms of, by the way, I use left, right, and straight. If I'm looking from 5 towards 6, so in this case, left comes back the way you've come, which is something like this. Right uses this open white forest, goes round, down, up there. And straight, there's actually 2 straight route choices depending on what you look like. So one is through here, taking advantage of this narrow band of greener, so it's less thick green, so you can go around it. The second route choice for a straightish direction, which a lot of people took, was along this track. So if we're having a look at these, we'll start with eliminating the ones that I obviously don't want to do. So I don't like the look of going down a lot. So there's what? 5, 10, 11 contours down, and a similar number back up. So I'd probably avoid that one for length, which means we've got these 2 various straight options. And so I'm a bit dubious about this sort of second straight option that sort of follows exactly along the line, just because I'm not sure what the bush is like through there. It could be a bit thick, and remembering, of course, that this is Corey Park and the bush is greener, I'd probably eliminate that one. Actually, I'll leave that there. I'd probably consider that more than along the fence line, which is what, I mean, a lot of people are really tempted by this nice, easy navigation. You know, you just hit the fence, you follow the fence, all the way into the control, you end up on the ridge, and then drop down into there. The only problem with that is that while following the fence, you've got a whole bunch of green. So all of this is bashing through green. And green is awful. Don't go through green. So I didn't even consider this. I would basically not consider that as a route choice at all, because I don't want to go through the green. Especially don't want to go through this dark green, which is gorse. And one of the things I'm actually also would be thinking about when I'm just selecting these route choices is I've already been down this track here. And that's not that bad. And so I've already been down that track, and I've already been down through here. So I've already done that. And I know that the vegetation there is runnable, or walkable at least. And so that, for me, is a really tempting route choice to come up, along, and around like that. Just because you have a lot of nice running on this track. It's straight, fast running. This interesting track here is not actually too bad. And this avoids the worst of the green. So I'm not traipsing through all this yuck here. So that's, in the end, I would take the leftmost route choice, which involves climbing up the hill. You've got roughly 5 contours of climb, so you're looking at... don't know exactly what the contour interval is. I'm going to assume 2.5. And so you're looking at 25 meters of climb, which isn't too bad for a route choice of this, especially because it cuts out all that green I was talking about. And so probably the key takeaway from this particular leg is that this center route choice isn't very far off the line, looks appealing, it's easy navigation. Oh, look at that, I can just follow the fence all the way along. But you need to, when you're moving up to oranges, you probably want to start thinking about contours in terms of climb and vegetation in terms of how thick it is. And my worry with taking this route choice is that you get bogged down in all this vegetation here. Like, that's all green. And I don't really want to be hopping to and from across the fence, because that causes problems. It takes time each time you have to jump the fence. So yeah, that's why I would take the leftmost route choice and actually come right the way back up to the track and down. It's longer, but it's longer and doesn't have quite as much climb as going down and back up that way. So it's longer, and you have a little bit more climb and going along the fence line. It's a little bit harder, not much harder, but it's a little bit harder navigationally. Just follow the fence to the ridge and take a right. But it avoids the worst of the green stuff, a lot of the green stuff, which I know in Corey Park it can be kind of yucky. So that was the leg that most people struggled with on the orange today, is this 5 to 6, because a lot of people got sucked into that yellow level thinking of, oh yeah, I go to the fence, along the fence, and off the fence, without taking into consideration how green it is. Yeah, the red long course, by the way, had a control there. So it was a case of you had to go down and up. That was actually perfectly fine route choice, but you wouldn't know that on the orange. Looking at 6 to 7, there's no real interesting navigation here. You're always going to do something like this, or come up and along and around. That's a fairly easy leg. I don't think many people should have problems with that. We'll get to the last of the sort of interesting legs for a moment. Let's not zoom out that far. 7 to 8. So again, route, attack point, control, exit direction, race. So the first thing I'm thinking about, what are my routes? Is there a left? Is there a right? Is there a straight? And so actually, what happens here is where 8 is. I see 8, I see, right, how can I get into 8? Because there's not that many options. There's that way to get into 8, it's basically along by the road and in. There's up the stream from down here, and somewhere that way. Or there's down the stream in one of these two ways. So that informs my route choices for left, right, straight. As it is, so let's have a look at what the rightmost route choice looks like, which is along here to the road, right the way down the road, in off the path, and up, with variants of cutting down here or here, which are less appealing than the road because the road is super fast running. Also, because it's easy terrain, you can plan ahead if that's the thing you're interested in doing, which makes the entire thing a little bit easier. Anyway, so that's the rightmost route choice. Leftmost route choice is one that comes in from here. So that means coming down. So that means first of all I've got to find out how I get here. Right, so left route choice is coming in that way. And to be honest, it probably starts the same as the other route choice. You know, out to the track, down the track, and then the separation is here, where you're coming down here to there, and down there. A, attack point. What's my attack point? If I'm taking the left, or the straight, is possibly, you could consider going down this track here to be a straighter route choice, or you could consider something that tries to come down this stream to be a straighter route choice, neither of which look as appealing as going right the way around the road or down through the nice white bush, because white bush is easier running, so I'd rather do that. So as it is, we'll just eliminate some of the route choices. So we've got, so your options are that one and that one. Personally, once I've narrowed it down to these two route choices, by the way, I had this, like, I came down through here, and somebody else who was running about a minute behind me came round down by the road and beat me. So that may influence what I'm talking about here, but I personally like the look of running right down the road because it's a lot of fast running, it's a lot of easy navigation. You're looking for a track, a track off a road rather than a small indistinct track off something else. You know, a reasonably wide path, but still you're looking for an indistinct track as opposed to a normal track, which probably is signposted, to be honest, in this kind of park. So that's a super easy attack point. So yeah, that way, or you've got this way, which is a lot shorter, or it's a little shorter anyway, especially if you do it that way. But you've got a sketch or attack point off here, and you're having to backtrack up the stream a bit. So that looks less appealing to me. So decide on your route. This wide route around the road. A attack point. Well, I'm going to leave. I've got an attack point there. I'm leaving towards going to go left and head up the stream to my control. And I've got stepping stones here, here. So actually, coming out of 7, I've got some decisions to make. Where am I making decisions? I'm making one at that track. I'm not going straight through the green. I'm going around the track. Got one there. And I can just follow this track along. Till I get to this track junction, we're going to meet the main path. Follow the main path along till I meet the road. Head down the road. Oh, sorry. Main path, take a right. There. Hit the road and go down the hill. There'll also be a left there. I follow the road down. I'm looking come around and down. And as soon as I get towards the houses and the residential stuff, I start looking for a track. On the left, find the track, go down here. Basically always to the bottom until I meet a stream. And then take a left up the stream a little bit. And I find 8. So that's the A. C control. What is it on? Cliff foot. So the other thing that would have contributed to things, whoops, I forgot to, is that these are all symbols. You may not be familiar with them, but a common one, 8, this one, cliff. I'm not going to try writing with a mouse because it's awful. But yeah, that symbol is a cliff, and this tells you which bit of the cliff it's on. So that one's on the cliff foot, that one's on top of the cliff. Yeah, so root, attack, control, exit. So to summarize for this video, we'll just remove all these red lines. When you're out running and you think you've got a difficult leg, especially if you set up to orange, well, mouse went somewhere, is to look at root, attack point, control, exit, race. You can also do it care, which is the same thing except is control, attack point, root, exit. Personally, I do, like, those are acronyms that make sense. Personally, I actually do something slightly different, which is control, root, attack point, exit. So as long as you're doing those 4 things, it doesn't matter too much what order you're in. So control, what is control on? Root, which are the options? What are the options I have? Left, right, straight. Which one of those looks the best? I'm selecting that. Maybe you can only see a left or a right, so you just have to pick between 2. Then you want to consider things when you're moving up to orange, such as how thick the vegetation is and how many contours am I going up and down. Up being the important one. And both, if your vegetation is going through a lot of green, your root's going to be considerably slower, and if you're climbing a lot, that's going to make your route slower as well, and you're going to get tired. Attack. What am I? Whoa, my text disappeared. Attack. What am I looking for to tell me to do something just before the control? Because the control site controls the small white flags, orange and white flags. They're about that big for the flag part, and the pole itself is almost invisible. But a track bend or a road junction or a hilltop are all much more obvious features. And exit direction. What way am I leaving the control? Am I going to go left? Am I going to go right out of the control? Am I going up the hill? Am I going down the hill? Something to tell you to leave in the right direction. And that sort of flows on to the next control, attack, root, exit. Or, yeah. Cray is kind of what I do, but irrelevant. So when you're looking at a hard leg, it's worth definitely just breaking it down to those 4 components. Looking through them, like finalizing your plan, and executing it. And that should hopefully avoid you taking route choices like this one. Because you're looking at it, and you're looking at your route, and you're thinking, your route selection, you're like, what are my other alternatives? There's usually options. And so you're looking at it, you're aware of these options rather than just selecting a thing and going for it. And then you go, right, I want to go not along the fence because it's covered in green. Or I don't want to go down and up the hill because it takes ages and it's going to be really tiring. Those are things you need to think about, and that route, but yeah. Just breaking a tough leg down into control, route, attack, exit, or control, attack point, route, exit, whatever you're doing, makes you think about these things and will open your eyes to other options. And it's actually worth doing for events, is just deliberately going, what's my control on, what's my attack point, what's my route, where's my exit direction, and just deliberately thinking about those things as you go, and you'll find that you'll find yourself less prone to mistakes, and you'll do better. Because even if you're running slower, you're making less mistakes, you're having to run less far. Anyway, that's me breaking down the hard part of today's orange, which was fairly close to a red, by the way, so don't feel bad if you made mistakes out there. In fact, it basically is a red, but don't feel bad if you made mistakes out there or took longer than you think, because it's a red course through thick bush with lots of hill. It's going to be slow. But yeah, maybe I'll do another one of these videos, maybe I won't, we'll see.